My dear students, let's start third chapter, ecosystems. Ecosystems. So before starting this lesson, just look at the figure which is given here. So here you can see there are number of plants and there are number of aquatic animals like fishes, frog, and some microorganisms like algae, bacteria, protozoans, fungi. So did you get about idea about ecosystem? Now let's learn about the ecosystem. So in ecosystem there are number of living organisms and they have the interaction with the non-living components. So what is mean by environment? So environment is the study of the area where the living organisms will live. That means the living organism in which the place they live is known as environment. Ecosystem is the community where the biotic and abiotic elements interact with each other. Ecosystem is the community where the biotic and abiotic elements interact with each other. That means the organisms will depend on the non-living thing in the interact with each other. That means the living things as well as non-living things, they will interact with each other. That is known as the ecosystem. A group of ecosystem makes up an environment. There are number of ecosystem makes an ecosystem. Ecology is the study of interactions between the organisms and their surroundings occurring within an ecosystem or environment. This is ecology means it is the branch of biology that deals with the relations of the organism to one another and their physical surroundings. That means ecology means complete a branch of biology that is dealing with the relationship between the organisms and its surroundings. That is known as ecology. So this ecosystem, the term ecosystem was given by the scientist Tesla in 1935. So there are two types of ecosystem. They are aquatic and terrestrial ecosystem. Components of the ecosystem. So all things outside an organisms, living as well as non-living comprises its ecosystem. There is an interaction between the living thing as well as non-living thing. So based on that, there are three interactive components. They are abiotic, biotic and cultural. There are three interactive components. They are abiotic, biotic and cultural. Let's discuss in brief. First one is abiotic. What do you mean by abiotic components? So abiotic components means in and surroundings the things which are not alive and they are never were, like light, temperature, air, water and soil. So these are the major abiotic components. Let's discuss one by one. First one is plants. Why the plants need light? So sunlight is a very important factor for the plants. It is for food by photosynthesis process. The plants prepares the food by using chlorophyll, carbon dioxide. So these things, by using these things, the plants prepares the food and they make the food as a carbohydrates. So what is carbohydrates? Carbohydrate means it is a sugar molecules. Okay, simple sugar molecules. All the animals directly or indirectly depends on the food prepared by plants for survival. So all the animals they need to survive, so that they need food. The food which is get from the from different sources. It may be directly or indirectly. The animals will depend on the food. So light is also influence the daily and seasonal activity of the plants and animals. Some plants flower only when they are exposed to the short days of winter, while others require long days of summer to flower. So, in case of some plants flower, they need when they are exposed to short days of winter, while the others require the long days to of a summer to flower. So that is depends on the plants which gives the flower. The plants gives the when it exposed to the sunlight depends on the weather, it gives the flowers. Some animals are active only during the day when they get the light. That is, some of the animals they depends to the light. So some of the animals they will be active on during the daytime, and because of they get the light, so that kind of animals are known as di- diurnal animals. So diurnal animals, example sparrow, crow, etc. So these animals will be active during the daytime, but in the night time there are some animals they will be active. So the animals that are active during the night they are called as the nocturnal animals. Example bat, owl, etc. Second one, temperature. Temperature is a measure of how hot or cold a thing is. Temperature means it is a measuring the temperature whether it is hot or cold. The temperature varies in different regions and also within the same region at a different time of the day. That means now if you take the days, the from morning there will be less temperature, but in the afternoon there will be the temperature will be too hot, and but in the night time again it reduces the temperature. So it is because the in a different timings there will be changes in the temperature. Increasing Increase or decrease in temperature affects the activity of many animals, because some of the animals they depends on the temperature for their activity. Animals like toads cannot withstand very low temperature in winter, and so they go into hibernation. Hibernation means there are some animals, these animals cannot survive in low temperature, especially during the winter season. They cannot survive or they cannot tolerate the very low temperature, so they go for a winter sleep. So that is known as hibernation. So some of the animals like snails they cannot tolerate very high temperature in especially in the summer season. So during the summer season they will be inactive and they go for estivation or summer sleep. They will be in an inactivated form. But some animals they also move from one region to the another region with the response to seasonal changes, like some birds. So some birds will not survive in a particular temperature. So where the suitable temperature is present, so the birds move from the one region to the another region. So that is known as a migration. The type of vegetation growing in a place also depends on the temperature of that place. That means in some fields, all the seeds they are not germinating in a particular region. They need a particular temperature for the germination. So depends on the type of seeds they need a variety, or there will be that depends on the temperature of the where we place it. Plants in a hilly region is different in structure than those in the plains. The some of the plants, if you see in the hilly regions or normally in the land or in the water, the some of the structural changes we can see in the plants. It is because that is depends on the temperature, or depends on that the plants will grow in a different regions. So plants need an optimum temperature of 28 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius for germination. So to germinate, for the germination process, the plants need 28 to 40 degrees Celsius. It's like some maize fails to germinate below 10 degrees Celsius. Below 10 degrees Celsius means very low temperature, so the maize seeds will not germinate. And watermelon requires a temperature above 20 degrees Celsius. It requires a little optimum temperature like 20 degrees Celsius and more. Next one is water. Water is very important for the survival of life. So without water, no life. So it provides a medium for the transportation of materials within the bodies of organisms. See, if you see, for example, if you take human beings, the human beings requires take water. Why they take water? So there are some fluids in our body, that fluids need to transport to all the regions of the body. So we take a lot of water. So water is a universal solvent. Especially in case of some animals which are present in the water, they are called aquatic animals. So they use oxygen dissolved in water for breathing. They breathe. The aquatic animals will breathe. How they breathe? What they do? The oxygen which is dissolved in water, then they breathe. Aquatic plants use carbon dioxide dissolved in water for photosynthesis. So some of the plants also present in the water, and what they do, they use carbon dioxide dissolved in water for photosynthesis process. For photosynthesis process, they need carbon dioxide, so they use in a dissolved form. So plants growing on land absorb water from the soil with the help of their roots and use it for photosynthesis. That means the plants growing on the land, they absorb the water from the surrounding soil, and they take through the roots and use for the photosynthesis process. The plants like lotus and water lily grow only in water because they are aquatic. They only present in the water. Next one is air. The air contains oxygen and carbon dioxide, both of which are very important for the survival of a living organism. So one of the main important factor is air. Without air, no life. So to survive, the each and every living organisms need air. So all living organisms take oxygen from the atmosphere. So plants release out oxygen that is used by the living organisms, especially human beings and animals. They take oxygen. Carbon dioxide is also given out by the burning of fossil fuels. Plants take in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere for photosynthesis. For photosynthesis process, the carbon dioxide is needed. So that carbon dioxide, which we should get from the burning of fossil fuels. So when we burn the fossil fuels, it releases carbon dioxide that is used by the plants. So both the plants and animals should be present in adequate amounts on the earth. That means the balance of the oxygen and carbon dioxide on the earth should be in a adequate amount. That means there should not be more of oxygen or more of carbon dioxide. There should be a balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide in an earth. Soil. Soil is a very important factor for the plants, and this soil, the roots will absorb the water from the soil, and humus very helps in maintaining the fertility in the soil. That means the humus, it is a organic component of the soil, so which helps in maintaining the fertility in the soil. The mineral-rich soil makes the plant grow possible on the earth. If the minerals are present, mineral nutrients are present in the soil, which the plants grow in a good way. The soil is the home of many burrowing animals like rats, rabbits, and earthworms. Like some of the animals, they will be present in the surviving in the soil, and they are very important for, it is one of the components for the abiotic components. Last one is humidity. So how humidity affects? Humidity and wind are the other two abiotic components or factors. So how it affects? Especially it affects to the transpiration. So how the humidity affects in the transpiration? So when the transpiration, what is transpiration? The loss of water in the form of water vapor. So this transpiration is reduced if the outside is humid. If the surrounding is in a humid, the transpiration will reduces. In case of wind, the transpiration will increases with the velocity of the wind. The transpiration process will takes place in, that is increases with the increasing in the velocity of the wind. So these are the factors or components which affects the abiotic components.